feel the burn. So Bernie Sanders said that he had something to say and he wanted to have a response to what Trump said during his address at Congress.
We are living in a pivotal moment in our country's history, facing unprecedented challenges.
I got
How
my Bernie
we
Sanders
respond
voice
to this moment will impact not only our lives, but the lives of our kids and grandchildren, and in terms of climate change, the very health and well-being of the planet. As you heard tonight, President Trump has been very effective in creating what I would call a parallel universe for his supporters. A set of ideas that either have no basis in reality or in the great scheme of things are nowhere near
Come on, Bernie, you have to read that
important
screen more
concerns
effectively,
of
big
the
dog.
American people. And one way that he does that is through the concept of the big lie, and boy, did we hear that tonight. You say something that is grossly false, say it over and over again, and have right-wing social media blast it out endless times until people actually believe it. And then, rather than address the real issues facing the American people, the struggles that the American people are facing, we find ourselves wasting endless amounts of time discussing Trump's absurdities. Let me just give you a very few examples. Trump claimed that the 2020 election was stolen from him and that he won by a landslide. Remember that? A lie. Trump claimed that the January 6th insurrection was a day of love. A lie.
When are Democrats going to eventually concede and just say, yo, you know what? We have no chance to win in any future election for the next 4 election cycles. Because good God, they still talking about the same thing over and over and over and over. And nobody cares. This is why y'all lost. Oh my goodness.
Trump has claimed that millions of undocumented people voted and do vote in American elections. A lie. Trump has claimed that climate change is a hoax originating in China. A lie. Trump has claimed that Ukraine started the horrific war with Russia. A lie. And tonight, just tonight, Trump claimed that millions of dead people between the ages of 100 and 360, I guess, were collecting Social Security checks. And that is an outrageous lie intended to lay the groundwork for cuts to Social Security and dismantling the most successful and popular government program in history. So let's be clear about that. Well over 99% of Social Security checks are going out to people who earned those checks. 70 million Americans. Nobody who was 150 years old or 200 years old or 300 years old is receiving Social Security checks. And on the lies go. Now, the purpose of all of this lying is not just to push his hateful right-wing ideology. It is not just to try to divide us up. It is more than that. It is a masterful effort, and you saw that tonight, to deflect attention away from the most important issues facing the people of our country. Issues that Trump and his billionaire friends do not want to address because it is not in their financial interests to do so. Trump gave his State of the Union speech tonight. But if you listen closely, that speech had very little to say about the State of the Union, about what is really going on in our country, especially for working families. Trump spoke for over 90 minutes, although I must confess it seemed a lot longer than that, and he almost completely ignored the issues that are keeping working people up at night as they worry about how their families are going to survive in these very tough times. And I will tell you exactly why Trump had very little to say about the real crises facing the working class of this country. Think back 6 weeks ago when Trump was inaugurated for his second term as president, just 6 weeks ago. Standing right behind him were the 3 wealthiest men in this country, Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg. And standing behind them were 13 other billionaires who Trump had nominated to head major government agencies. Many of these same billionaires, including Musk, were in the Capitol tonight listening to that speech. In other words, it is there for all to see The Trump administration is not hiding it. The Trump administration is a government of the billionaire class.
Have y'all noticed, and I want to keep hitting on this point, that they no longer talk about millionaires. They don't say that Trump is for millionaires and billionaires. They say that Trump is only for the billionaire class. Now, I remember during Trump's first administration, when he first started running back in 2014, 15, and then ultimately becoming president of the United States of America in 16, that they were even disputing whether or not Trump was a billionaire in the first place. They said that Trump was lying about his wealth. He didn't have the money and the resources. He wasn't as rich as he said that he was. And he paid no taxes. Now they're flipping it and saying, listen, Trump is too rich. He got too many billionaire friends. And they're taking over the government in order to enrich themselves even more. Notice how they don't talk about millionaires no more. You know why? Because all of them are millionaires. They are rich while their constituents, and remember, they make the same salary as a lot of us. They make $170,000 a year, you know what I'm saying? Combined income, household monthly income, and all of this stuff. They get all of their donations from the billionaire class. Bernie Sanders was properly exposed by RFK Jr. as one of the single biggest recipients of pharmaceutical donations in order to keep him in office. And they will sit there and try to bloviate, like Stephen A. Smith says, and try to act like, oh, wow, it's only about the billionaires. That's because they're now millionaires. And they're on their way to be billionaires. And so then once they become billionaires, then they're going to start talking about the trillionaires.
By the billionaire class and for the billionaire class. Notwithstanding some of their rhetoric, this is a government that could care less about ordinary Americans and the working families of our country. My friends, we are no longer moving toward oligarchy. We are living in an oligarchic society. Now let's take a moment and try to escape from Trump's parallel universe, the universe that you heard tonight. And let's do something really, really radical. Let's actually take a hard look at the problems that Americans are facing. Today, 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Unlike Trump, I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck, and I know something about that reality. It means that every day, millions of Americans worry about how they're going to pay their rent, pay for childcare, pay for a doctor's visit when they get sick. They worry about what happens when their car breaks down and they can't afford the $1,000 it costs to get it fixed. And what happens when they can't.
How old is Bernie Sanders and when did he grow up? In the 40s? Did Bernie Sanders grow up in the 40s or the 50s? Because I just can't relate. I can't relate. And you know, they try to make themselves relatable. I can't relate. How old is Bernie Sanders, y'all? Let me see how old Bernie Sanders is.
Can't get to work because they don't have a car. They worry about how they can afford to buy healthy food for their kids when the price of food is off the charts. Funny? I heard Trump speaking
Bernie
for 90
Sanders
minutes
is
tonight.
83,
I didn't hear.
Bro. 83. Bernie Sanders grew up in the 40s. He was born in 1941. Bernie. Why are they trying to make themselves so relatable? And I know something about growing up poor. Bernie Sanders was born in 1941, family.
One word from him about the economic reality facing 60% of our people, or the enormous stress that they are living under. 90-minute speech, not one word about the economic reality facing American workers. But that's not all. Today in America, everyone knows that our healthcare system is broken. It is dysfunctional, and it is outrageously expensive. We remain the only wealthy nation on earth not to guarantee healthcare for all. Mr. President, You really want to make America great again? Then make sure that every American, regardless of income, can go to a doctor or a hospital and not worry about how they're going to pay the bills.
All right, we already heard all of this from Bernie Sanders. Let me tell you something. I remember, I got to bring it back for a second. You know me, I always like to make it more relatable by telling y'all a story. I remember I was talking to a guy, and this was during the pandemic. All right. This was during the pandemic. I was talking to a guy, and we were arguing. We wasn't arguing. We was having a conversation back and forth. We wasn't arguing. And he was asking me, he was a black guy, and he was asking me if I was a Trump supporter. And I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely a Trump supporter. I think that he was robbed in the 2020 election. That's who I voted for, so on and so forth, right? And I said, well, who do you support? Biden? He said, absolutely not. I don't rock with Biden. He was a nerdy guy, you know, a little bit beta or whatever, but, you know, it was what it was. I knew him through somebody else. Anyway, so he said, no, I don't rock with Biden. What do I look like? Why would I ever vote for Biden? I said, well, who you rock with? He said, I'm rocking with Bernie Sanders. Feel the burn. He said, if it was up to me, I would have voted Bernie Sanders in office. I said, what? He said, yeah. I said, that's crazy. And before he put back on his gaming headphones, and then I headed out to go and take care of business because, you know, it was money to get, baby. It was opportunity to take advantage of. That's what we really took off for the second, third time during the pandemic, right? And so it was a little bit after the pandemic. Most of the people was in the house. And then I go and find out that this guy is not even American. Not even American. Wasn't even born here. I didn't even know that. He's an immigrant. He wasn't even from here. Most of the people that you talk to, I need us to start substantiating where we come from, what we stand for, and if you're an American citizen or if you can even vote. Most of the people that have the most to say and is the biggest supporters of these people do not even have legal status to be able to vote in our elections. And I didn't even find that out until a little bit later. You know what I'm saying? But yes, absolutely, positively, wasn't even from here. Couldn't even vote. And was arguing me down about whether or not I should support Trump. I said, and in hindsight, when I think about it today, and I think to myself, well, of course he didn't want me to vote for Trump because, first of all, I was determining his future. That's number one. But number two, because he's not even pro-America. He's pro-take advantage of America. They're not even pro-America. They're pro-take advantage of America. Yes, he had on his gaming headphones. He took off his gaming headphones to have a conversation with me. Yes, he did, April. Yes, he did. Bernie Sanders, who at the time we thought was one of the most radical liberals and on the Democratic side, is crazy. And there's nothing wrong with coming over into this country legally, which I don't know if he came into the country legally or illegally. I don't know his history like that. It's nothing wrong with it. But when y'all come over here and y'all decide to take advantage of the American dollar and you buy into the American dream, I need you to be America first. You know how we have a lot of people that go overseas, and I start to see these videos where people are like, oh my God, it's so much cheaper to live over here in Thailand. It's beautiful over here. Look at how we're gentrifying the area and displacing people over here in Thailand and making the cost of living increase because we're bringing our American dollar back over here in order to feed into their system that's not conducive for our lifestyle, but we're praising them and we want them to be great. And we love Thailand. Oh my God, the people in Thailand are so awesome and beautiful and great. And it doesn't matter how much we're actually bringing our culture over here that they don't want, that we're bringing our dollar. And even though we live in neighborhoods, that's then making the cost of living go up and displacing the people that's supposed to be here. And now it's only Americans around me. And it's starting to become just like America, except for we're praising their country. That's the same thing I want y'all to do over here in America. It's the same thing I want y'all to do over here in America. When you come over here, stop talking about how great your country is, because if it was that great, you would still be there. You are over here in America. Learn our ways. understand our language, stop doing what you think makes the most sense, and stop feeling like you entitled, you blessed, you privileged to be here. You privileged to be here. Shouldn't even be talking to me about what we should be doing in our election. Do you see us talking about what we can do in other people's elections when we go to their country? We don't. This is the only place that we get away with that in. Think about that for a second. It's the only place that we can get away with that in. We go to other countries and we abide by their rules and we respect their leadership, we respect their ways, or they're going to get us up out of there ASAP. They come over here and then have so much to say about what we should do in our elections. I'm like, what? You a guest. You blessed to be here. You blessed to be able to have the opportunity to earn here. We let y'all buy houses here and live here. We don't go there over nobody else's country and start talking about what y'all need to get this guy up out of there. We don't do that. Go over on there, go over to China and go to China and make a TikTok. Go to China and make a red note and tell us what you think about China in China. And let me know. Tell me what you think about Xi Jinping over in China. No. Don't do it from the safety of your home right here in Wichita. Go to China, get on the internet, and tell us what you think about Chinese people, Chinese culture, and how much you dislike anything. Just tell me what disagreement you have with China in China, and then get back to me and tell me how that worked out. Boy, you going to an internment camp. You gonna be recategorized as a slave labor. Go to China and tell us in China how you feel about Chinese leadership.